Hi, I'm J.S. Farrington. My online friends call me Jackal. And welcome to my YouTube channel, Jackal's Den. I hope you'll sit back and enjoy Pawn of Prophecy, the Prologue, Part 1, written by David Eddings, voiced and edited by J.S. Farrington. Being a history of the War of the Gods and the acts of Belgarath the Sorcerer, adapted from the Book of Alorn. When the world was new, the 7 gods dwelt in harmony, and the races of man were as one people. Belar, youngest of the gods, was beloved by the Alorns. He abode with them and cherished them, and they prospered in his care. The other gods also gathered peoples about them, and each god cherished his own people. But Belar's eldest brother Alder was god over no people. He dwelt apart from men and gods, until the day that a vagrant child sought him out. Alder accepted the child as his disciple and called him Belgarath. Belgarath learned the secrets of the will and the word and became a sorcerer. In the years that followed, others also sought out the solitary god. They joined in brotherhood to learn at the feet of Alder, and time did not touch them. Now it happened that Alder took up a stone in the shape of a globe, no larger than the heart of a child, and he turned the stone in his hand until it became a living soul. The power of the living jewel, which men called the Orb of Alder, was very great, and Alder worked wonders with it. Of all the gods, Torak was the most beautiful, and his people were the Angaraks. They burned sacrifices before him, calling him Lord of Lords, and Torak found the smell of sacrifice and the words of adoration sweet. The day came, however, when he heard of the Orb of Alder, and from that moment he knew no peace. Finally, in a dissembling guise, he went to Alder.
"My brother,"
he said,
"it is not fitting that thou shouldst absent thyself from our company and council. Put aside this jewel which hath seduced thy mind from our fellowship."
Alder looked into his brother's soul and rebuked him.
"Why dost thou seek lordship and dominion, Torak? Is not Angarak enough for thee? Do not in thy pride seek to possess the orb, lest it slay thee."
Great was Torak's shame at the words of Alder, and he raised his hand and smote his brother. The other gods besought Torak to return the orb, but he would not. Then the races of man rose up and came against the hosts of Angarak and made war on them. Torak raised the orb and forced its will to join with his to split the earth asunder. The mountains were cast down, and the sea came in. But Belar and Alder joined their wills and set limits upon the sea. The races of man, however, were separated one from the others, and the gods also. Now when Torak raised the living orb against the earth, its mother, it awoke and began to glow with holy flame. The face of Torak was seared by the blue fire. In pain he cast down the mountains. In anguish he cracked open the earth. In agony he let in the sea. His left hand flared and burned to ashes. The flesh on the left side of his face melted like wax, and his left eye boiled in its socket. With a great cry, he cast himself into the sea to quench the burning, but his anguish was without end. When Torak rose from the water, his right side was still fair, but his left was burned and scarred hideously by the fire of the orb. In endless pain, he led his people away to the east, where they built a great city on the plains of Maloria, which they called Sithal-Mishrak, City of Night. For Torak hid his maiming in darkness. The Angaraks raised an iron tower for their god and placed the orb in an iron cask in the topmost chamber. Often, Torak stood before the cask, then fled weeping, lest his yearning to look on the orb overpower him, and he perish utterly. Thus centuries rolled past in the lands of the Angarak, and they came to call their maimed god Kal-Torak, both king and god. Belar had taken the Alorns to the north. Of all men, they were the most hardy and warlike, and Belar put eternal hatred for Angarak in their hearts. With cruel swords and axes they ranged the north, even to the fields of eternal ice, seeking a way to their ancient enemies. Thus it was until the time when Cherrick Bareshoulders, greatest king of the Alorns, traveled to the Vale of Aldur to seek out Belgarath the sorcerer.
"The way to the north is open,"
He said.
"The signs and the auguries are propitious. Now is the time ripe for us to discover the way to the City of Night and regain the orb from One Eye."
Poledra, wife of Belgarath, was great with child, and he was reluctant to leave her. But Cherrick prevailed. They stole away one night to join Cherrick's sons, Draz Bolnik, Algar Fleetfoot, and Riva Irongrip. Cruel winter gripped the Northland, and the moors glittered beneath the stars with frost and steel-gray ice. To seek out their way, Belgarath cast an enchantment and took the shape of a great wolf. On silent feet, he slunk through the snow-floored forests, where the trees cracked and shattered in the sundering cold. Grim frost silvered the ruff and shoulders of the wolf, and ever after the hair and beard of Belgarath were silver. Here ends Part 1 of Pawn of Prophecy, the Prologue.